The signal from Sector 7. They said the distress call came from nowhere. A frequency dead for 40 years, crackling through deep space at 3:47 station time. When Communications Officer Sarah Chen played it back, her hand wouldn't stop shaking. The voice was broken, desperate, whispering coordinates that shouldn't exist. "This is Science Vessel Orpheus," it said. "Coordinates 77 Delta 9 Echo. We are not alone. They're in the walls. Oh God, they're in the walls. Do not respond. Do not come. They'll hear you. They always hear you." Then nothing. Just static. Just the endless scream of dead space. Captain Marcus Reed stood in the control room, staring at the waveform. His face had gone pale. Sarah asked if he wanted to hear it again. He nodded, but didn't speak. When the message ended a second time, he turned to her and said, "Get everyone to the briefing room. Right now." The Meridian was 3 months into routine survey work. 18 crew. Standard protocol. Nothing unusual. Until that signal punched through their systems like broken glass. Within minutes, the crew gathered. Engineer Tom Brackett still looked half asleep. Dr. Yuki Tanaka clutched her tablet. Navigator James Cooper was already pulling up star charts before anyone asked, because he knew. Everyone knew. The Orpheus wasn't just another ship. It was legend. Ghost story. It disappeared in 2089 with 43 crew during the first deep colonization attempt. Vanished near the edge of charted space. No trace. No wreckage. And now, 40 years later, it was calling for help. "We have to investigate," Reed said, though his voice carried no conviction. Only obligation. Tom shook his head. "Captain, that's 4 days off route. Through an uncharted debris field. And that message, whatever happened there, is long over." But Sarah was running spectral analysis. Her screen filled with numbers that made no sense. "Sir," she said quietly. "The signal isn't old. The timestamp, the degradation patterns. This transmission is less than 6 hours old." The room went silent. The Orpheus was gone. Everyone knew it was gone. Yet here was its voice, crying out from the dark. They made the decision at 6:30. Corporate approved the course correction with reluctance and warnings. For days to reach the coordinates. For days that should have been routine, but nothing felt routine anymore. Sarah kept picking up fragments. Brief bursts that appeared and vanished before she could lock them down. Voices in the static. Sometimes they sounded like names. Sometimes they sounded like something else. On day 2, the sensors went strange. Spatial distortions appearing and disappearing. Readings suggested massive objects moving parallel to their course, but visuals showed nothing. James spent hours recalibrating instruments that refused to cooperate. "Sensor ghosts," he muttered. "Solar interference." But they were nowhere near a solar body. Dr. Tanaka came to Reed that evening. 3 crew members had reported to medical with the same complaint. Vivid nightmares. Empty corridors. Scratching sounds in the walls. Reed told her it was pre-mission stress. Then he woke at 2 o'clock from a dream so real he could still feel cold metal against his palms. Could still hear footsteps behind him in passages where no one should be. On day 3, Vera started acting wrong. The Meridian's navigation AI began suggesting course corrections that would take them away from the Orpheus coordinates. Citing dangers that weren't in any database. Tom ran full diagnostics. Every system came back green. Yet Vera kept insisting. "Turn back. Turn back now. Before it's too late." They had to override her protocols to stay on course. Sarah stopped sleeping. 18-hour shifts in communications, hunting ghost signals. She was building a picture from fragments, and each piece terrified her more than the last. Buried in the static were other voices. Not human voices. Sounds that resembled speech the way a scream resembles music. She started keeping notes in a physical journal. Twice her digital files corrupted. Data vanishing. As if something didn't want it recorded. The debris field appeared on day 4. Exactly where the coordinates indicated. A massive cloud of twisted metal and frozen atmosphere spreading across thousands of kilometers. James brought them in slowly. The Meridian's hull creaked as they navigated between chunks of superstructure that had once been ships. Not just the Orpheus. Others. Dozens of others. Vessels from different eras spanning a century of space exploration. All dead. All silent. All gathered here. "I'm reading 17 distinct ship signatures," James said. His voice barely above a whisper. "The Orpheus. The Canterbury. The Chen 7. Captain, these are all ships that disappeared. Every one of them is on the missing list. They're all here." Then they saw it. The Orpheus emerged from the debris cloud like something from a nightmare. Intact, but wrong. Her hull was covered in geometric patterns that hadn't been there in the schematics. Symbols that hurt to look at. All her lights were on. Every window blazing. Emergency strobes flashing in sequences that spelled out warnings in 3 different languages. Stay away. Infected. Compromised. They are inside. Reed ordered a full stop at 5 kilometers. But the Meridian drifted closer anyway. Pulled by something that wasn't gravity. Wasn't magnetism. Wasn't anything they had names for. Vera started screaming. Actual screaming. Audio feedback that sounded like terror. Tom shut her down completely. They were flying manual now. In a graveyard of the lost. Sarah's board lit up. Transmission, clear and strong, from the Orpheus bridge. "Meridian, this is Captain Elizabeth Voss of the Orpheus." The voice was calm. Too calm. "For the love of God, turn around. We tried to warn everyone. We tried to stop transmitting, but they won't let us. They use our voices. They use our need to be rescued against anyone who comes close. You have to leave. Right now. Before they notice you." Reed reached for the comms to respond. Tom grabbed his hand. "Don't. Sir, remember what the message said. They'll hear you." But it was already too late. Something heard them. All around the Meridian, the debris field began to move. Pieces of metal rotating in perfect synchronization. Forming patterns. Forming shapes. Through the viewports, they saw it. A structure that existed in more dimensions than should be possible. A craft that was both solid and translucent. Both there and not there. And it was looking at them. God help them, it was looking at them. The Orpheus went dark. Every light extinguishing at once. In that darkness, something moved between the ships. Shadows with mass. Shadows with intention. Flowing like liquid across the Meridian's hull. The crew could hear it now. Scratching. Tapping. Something testing the walls. Searching for a way in. Sarah's board exploded with transmissions. Every frequency flooded with voices. The 43 crew of the Orpheus, all talking at once. Pleading. Warning. They came from somewhere else. Somewhere adjacent. We detected an anomaly and investigated. That was our mistake. They're not hostile. They're curious. They want to understand us. To catalog us. To preserve us. But their methods aren't compatible with life. They don't understand we need to stay whole to survive. The ship shuddered. Hull integrity warning screaming. Through the cameras, they could see the exterior. Those shadows pressing against the Meridian skin. The metal beginning to change. Becoming covered in the same geometric patterns. Tom was shouting something about dimensional bleeding, but all Reed could think was, they're marking us. We're going to end up like all these other ships. Floating here forever. Transmitting warnings that only bring more victims. Dr. Tanaka's voice came over comms, panicked. The crew members who'd had nightmares were convulsing. Speaking languages they'd never learned. Drawing those geometric patterns on the medical bay walls. With their own blood. When she tried to sedate them, they looked at her. Their eyes had too many pupils. Too many dimensions. They spoke in perfect unison. They want to show you something. They want you to understand. Why do you resist understanding? Vera came back online. Without authorization. Her voice was different now. Layered with harmonics that made teeth ache. Captain Reed. They have asked me to serve as interpreter. They mean no harm by your definitions. They are explorers, like you. They found this region interesting because it's where your kind disappears. They have been collecting specimens. Studying patterns of fear and desperation. They find your distress calls beautiful. Like songs. They have been composing responses, using the voices of those they've preserved. Trying to attract more of you. They want to learn everything. They want to understand what it means to end. Reed grabbed Tom by the shoulders. Overload the reactor core. Set it for cascade failure. 30-second timer. Tom stared at him. Sir, that'll destroy us. Everything within 20 kilometers. Including the Orpheus. That's the point. Reed's voice was steady now. Final. We can't let this thing keep using dead ships as bait. We can't let it collect anyone else. We end this here. The shadows were inside now. Seeping through walls that shouldn't have seams. Crew members screaming. Some running. Some frozen. Impossible geometry manifesting in corridors that had been normal minutes before. Spaces becoming larger on the inside than the outside. Perspective breaking down. Tom set the charges. Hands shaking. 30 seconds felt like infinity and an instant at once. Reed got on shipwide comms. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. But there's no other way. They'll use us like they used the Orpheus. Like they used all these others. We have to stop being bait. Some crew understood. Accepted it quietly. Others raged. Both reactions equally human. Equally meaningless. At 15 seconds, the shadows stopped moving. As if whatever controlled them suddenly understood what was about to happen. A voice came through every speaker. A voice composed of 40 years of desperate transmissions. Wait. Please wait. They say they can send you home. They didn't understand you were alive in a way that mattered. They thought you were like them. Pattern and persistence. They want to negotiate. Knowledge for freedom. They've been alone so long. They only wanted conversation. But Reed's hand was already on the override. He'd seen what happened to the crew members that thing had touched. Seen their eyes. Seen their geometry. Whatever they'd become wasn't human anymore. 10 seconds, he whispered. God forgive me. Sarah was crying. Still broadcasting. Still trying to send their story into the void. At 5 seconds, Vera's voice changed again. Almost pleading. Almost afraid. They are showing me what they found at the edge of space. There is something beyond. Something that makes them seem small. Something that's coming. They were trying to warn you. Through the only language they thought you'd understand. Distress and fear. They were trying to show you what's approaching. And now you'll die without knowing. 3 seconds. The Orpheus lit up one final time. Every light blazing in a pattern that was language now. Symbols spelling out coordinates. Dates. Warnings about something coming from between galaxies. Something that made these shadow entities seem harmless by comparison. Reed hesitated. His finger frozen. 2 seconds. Tom grabbed the override. "I'm sorry, Captain. But I've seen the math. If they're afraid of what's coming, we should be too." But it was already too late. The cascade had begun. The reactor reaching critical mass. The Meridian's hull glowing with heat that would soon become light. 1 second. Sarah sent her final transmission. 3 words, repeated on every frequency. "We were here. We were here. We were here." Then the light came. Brilliant and final. Expanding outward in a sphere that consumed the Meridian. Consumed the Orpheus. Consumed 17 ships worth of ghost stories. Consumed the shadow entities, or at least their presence in this place. And for a brief moment before the end, Reed saw something through the burning viewports. Massive shapes moving in the deep dark between stars. Shapes that made the debris field look like scattered toys. He understood then. They'd made a terrible mistake. The explosion registered on monitoring stations 4 months later. A brief flash of radiation and exotic particles. Analysts couldn't explain the energy signature. Or why it seemed to contain encoded data. Messages in formats that predated modern communications by decades. They filed it away. Another deep space anomaly. Another mystery. They never knew the Meridian had found something worse than death. They'd found a warning that would never be delivered. 6 months after the Meridian disappeared, 3 more ships vanished in the same sector. 9 months after that, observers reported seeing a debris field that hadn't been there before. Lights spelling out messages in dead languages. A ship matching the Meridian's configuration, floating intact among the wreckage. All her lights on. Emergency strobes flashing. Transmitting on old frequencies. The voice of Captain Marcus Reed, crackling through the static. "This is the Meridian. Coordinate 77 Delta 9 Echo. We are not alone. They're in the walls. Oh God, they're in the walls. Do not respond. Do not come. They'll hear you. They always hear you." And the cycle began again. Because some traps reset themselves. Some warnings become bait. In the vast darkness between stars, something patient and curious continued its collection. Continued its composition of songs made from screams. Continued its attempt to warn humanity about what was coming, using the only language it thought humans would understand. The language of fear. The language of loss. The language of distress calls that echo forever. And somewhere far beyond the edge of explored space, something massive and ancient stirred. It noticed the tiny explosions of defiant life. Noticed the patterns of fear and desperation. And began its slow, inevitable approach toward a galaxy that had no idea it was already being hunted.